Good morning. Okay, it's been 5 minutes. Nobody joined yet, except you. So I'm waiting. It just like okay. Royston is here. Yeah. So good morning, and
Good morning, sir.
one by one, everybody is joining. Good morning, everyone.
Morning, sir.
Morning, sir.
Morning, sir.
Five, six, seven. Very good morning. Okay, let's start with this. That's we already passed 5 6 minutes. Sorry for the noise. My house is next to the road, so it's noisy. Good morning, everyone. So let's start with our Photoshop class, digital art. So before starting, I'll make things very clear. I just sent you a mail with this link and everything, so you can bookmark or bookmark that email and save that, and you can use the same link every day to join class. And even if we have some doubt clearing session or something apart from this regular class 10 o'clock class, I will send you a separate mail for that. Other than that, all the class you can connect with that link, this particular link. You can use this. I just sent a mail. You can use that, or you can use the first day class link. So you can use that. So I believe there's no confusion. So you can use the same link every day, 10 o'clock, join the class. And classes are usually 40 to 50 minutes. And whenever we have, we plan, whenever we need to have a doubt clearing session, we'll plan it out and we'll have an extended class that time. So we plan it out in advance and do it. So, as per our syllabus module, I'll show you a few things. So we are supposed to start from today Photoshop, and I'll give you a basic idea of interface and tools and all. If you I believe some of you already have basic idea. If you don't have that, also fine. You can ask me all kind of questions. I'll answer everything related to Photoshop. So I'll answer those things. So I'll start with this. So before starting, I would like to share something. Yesterday only this trailer released. Maybe some of you have watched it already, or maybe not. I don't know. This is a legend of the Legend of Hanuman. It's coming. Okay. So Legend of Hanuman. It's releasing on 29th January this year. I guess next week, right? So releasing on Hotstar. So this particular project, it's a 3D Legend of Hanuman, all stories and all those things. And I was a asset supervisor for this project for a year. Like after that, I left this company and joined AID. So I was part of this team. I was working for this thing. There are lots of assets I have created. I have supervised the entire asset creation. I was asset supervisor for this. So I'll show you this trailer. it's a Tamil. It's in Tamil, Hindi, Telugu, multiple language. There was a Hindi trailer yesterday. Sorry, I don't understand Tamil, so that's why I'm playing the Hindi version. So this baby Hanuman, like that Hanuman I have created, and I supervise all entire modeling and texturing, how to create model and how to set benchmark and the entire pipeline I have set and I've put all the assets and how to create. But there's a lots of limitation for this particular project. Usually for production, we use displacement map and lots of other stuff. But in this particular case, we haven't used any displacement map, and lots of things are done in Nuke, After Effects. For lighting isn't like it's yes, lighting not big. Lighting isn't big. It's rendered properly. It's a production. It's not a gaming. It's production movie. So it's everything we rendered properly, and it's composited in new everything. So this is like going to release. So I just wanted to share this as we are starting, and so that you understand like my background and what to expect from me and what kind of work I have done in past. So what kind of quality I'll be expecting from you and what are the things I'll be teaching you. So to get to know each other better and get the develop the understanding. Yeah. So let's start with that class. That was like starting, and let's start with that this thing. And baked lighting is like old gen, like usually like very low budget movies or games. They usually use that, uh, or maybe third person game. Those games they use light baking and all. So no, in production, usually they render everything in passes, multiple passes. Okay, so from like today we'll start Photoshop. So I'll give you a basic interface explanation, like what to do, like what are the options, what are the tools we're going to use, and there will be few tools I'll be explaining while working on it, because that will explain those tools in a better way, and you'll understand the process and utility or usage of that particular tool. So basic thing, like if you open your Photoshop, it will be like this. I'm using 2020, so it's your if you are using 2020 or 2021, it will be like this only Photoshop. If you don't open any file, it will be like this, empty. So you can open it and then you can just simply create a new from under file. You have all the options, new, open, and bridge is basically like bridge between Adobe Photoshop and other Adobe softwares. And plus, it's Explorer or like a Windows Explorer you have. It's kind of Adobe Explorer. You can explore all files, supported files. You can browse all the folders and open those files in Photoshop. And Photoshop have two versions. One is Photoshop your normal version, another is Photoshop extended version, which supports 3D. But that is not part of our course. Reason, Photoshop extended version usually used for product rendering and all those things. It's not used in gaming or production or movie, because it's not that handy or it's not that efficient. So that's why we don't use it. And we'll be creating all the textures and everything, whatever you're going to use and create here, it's all targeted or channelized towards texture creation and photo editing, so that you can modify things according to your requirement or your texture requirement and manipulate and create something. Like for 3D, it's all targeted towards 3D. So then you have open as in smart object. Smart objects are basically okay. I'll show this like what is smart object. I have to showcase this. Okay, let's click this and let's open some photo. So you can see like then I just opened this as a smart object, and I open the same thing as normal, like open, same thing, open. You can see. So you can see there is no difference. Like what is the purpose? Like a smart object. These two looks exactly the same, right? There's no difference. The difference is this is like normal image and this is a smart object. You can see there is a name change and -1, and there's a dark one, normal JPEG, whatever was the name of this file. Only difference you can see right side, this right side pan is basically for your colors, your color swatch, your brush editing, your all those options, properties and tools, settings, those things. And bottom this part is for specifically Photoshop. In Photoshop, we use layers. For everything, we use a separate layer and create everything in a separate layer in a constructive way, so that we can always go back to Photoshop and open the Photoshop file and remodify our asset or maybe our photo or whatever we have worked on texture, modify that and again save it back. So having a multiple layers is always good, and it's a constructive way to creating things. So these are layers. This is layer. This is just one layer, right? So I can create multiple layer with this. I'll show that in a minute. So I just explain what is normal open, like open file, normal JPEG, and what is smart object. So you can see the only difference you can see here under this layer, this eye, and there's a layer. You can see the same name, and there's a small icon. You can see there's a small box and there's another box. If you go to the JPEG, you can see that thing is missing from here. It's not there. And it directly says background and it's locked. If you go here, it's not locked, it doesn't say background. Reason, it's a smart object, but it basically means it's a like no matter what you do with this image, it will always store the actual photo, actual image. Like suppose you have this image. Okay, I'll showcase this. Control J. I just duplicated this. Control J is shortcut for. I'll switch on my shortcut, keyboard shortcuts. Control J is for duplicate layer, or you can just simply click on this, drag, drop to this plus, it will duplicate your layer. Control J or drag this to this plus. Plus is basically create a new layer. So you can duplicate this, and let me change, like switch off, fill some color, Alt delete, fill whatever color you have selected, it will fill that color. It's filled. You see, you can switch off, switch on layer by this. So what is the main difference? I'll show you. Control T, transform, click on any of the edge and scale it down. Double click and like you accept the transform. Now you zoom in. If you can, now you can see, if you zoom in, everything is pixelated, right? Whereas if I go here, Control J, Control T, and resize this, zoom in, this is also pixelated, right? So I can just simply copy this, drag and drop to this here. So both kind of look similar and pixelated, same size. Both, if I zoom in now, you can see both looks exactly the same, pixelated, all pixel dot dot. You can see it's blurred. You cannot there's no details. Everything is like all gone. And suppose I want to go back to my actual size, or maybe I want to increase the size of this image. Let's go to non-smart object, Control T, and scale it up once again. So you can see the entire image is blurred now. Previously it was quite sharp. I reduced it and then I again scaled it up. It's now it's completely blurred. Now I go to dark one, this smart object, Control T, and scale it up, and see it's still retain all the details as compared. See the difference clearly. So basically what is happening here, if you this image is all pixelated and raster image, all the information are stored in pixels. If you reduce the size of the file, that image, you are reducing the number of pixels. Like suppose that image was 1000 pixels by 1000 pixels, and you reduce it to 200 pixels by 200 pixels. So what will happen, you're reducing it by 5 times. So 5 pixel will become 1 pixel. So it basically take the average of those 5 pixel and pick one color. But where what is happening here in smart object, if you this image is stored in a separate file, entirely separate file. The actual file is still stored. If you double click on this layer, it will open a separate, you can see now it opens a dark one JPEG, and which have all the entire resolution. It's like it retain all the detail in this file, and this file will be is saved already, and this file, until unless you modify this, nothing is going to change here. So this layer, so you can see I can again, if I want, I want to increase, so I can increase this to maximum level. You can see all the details. I have all the details, and if I drag this to top, you can see it's all blur, entirely blur. So everything is already saved because it's a separate file. It's calling from that file. It's basically referencing that separate file in here with the help of a smart object. That's why it's called smart object. No matter what you're doing here, it won't affect your actual image. It will retain all the details, all the properties, everything of the actual image, and won't destroy this. If you rasterize it, if I right click, sorry, right click and rasterize this layer, it will lose all whatever it's saved in a separate file. It will lose that, and it will become a solid layer, and then it will if I reduce and again increase, it will again go blur. That's why when we are creating some reference or some texture or something, it is always recommended try to use a smart object as long as as much as possible, so that it can always go back and modify things very easily without losing detail. That's the main property of smart object. But suppose you want to modify something on this, definitely you can modify things on this layer directly in this PSD file, or double click it, open this actual image, and then let's see, add layer B and some, let's see, I paint something. So let's just draw something, some lines. I just draw this lines, these lines, save it, but it won't save. You have to merge it, save, and then go back here. You can see those lines are updated here as well, because it's part of the, it's basically calling this image from here. I believe it's kind of clear. It will obviously will going to use this a lot of times, so it will be clear while working on this. So this is the main thing we need to understand, when to use smart object, when not to use smart object. And if you want to preserve something, make sure you use it as a smart object, or you can convert that into a smart object as well. Like suppose this one, this is all blurred now. So I'll just close this, go here, delete, and suppose I rasterize this, rasterize, convert to smart object. You could convert any image, any layer to smart object as well. So you can convert that to a smart object, and then you can use modify it. Like suppose you forgot to use this option, like open as smart object, you can always convert that layer to smart object and use it. So it's like kind of easy. Right click, convert to smart object, and it's become smart object. So now if I reduce, increase, nothing will happen. It will be same. So that's the main function of smart object. Then like open reset, like all the history. Then close all. Close means basically shortcut is Control W. Like close this particular tab. You can open multiple tabs. Like there's no limit. It totally depends upon your system, GPU, RAM, and processor. So you can open a lot of files together. Everything will be in separate tabs. Then you have save as. Suppose you want to change the, by default Photoshop file extension is PSD, Photoshop document. So if you want to change that to PSB, PNG, TGA, JPEG, or anything, you can save it as in any format. You can change the format from here. Then you have export option, like what you want to like export for web, export some preferences. You have like so many options. Lookup table is basically like the color chart. Then you can path, if you have path in your file, you can export paths. This thing, all these things will go slowly there. Then you have export as, like in what format you want to export. Then under generate a image asset, you want to generate images, multiple images. You want to share on Behance. I believe you know, it's a site where we usually designs and concept, those things we showcase. It's a free platform, so you can use that. And these things are like not exactly required. Automate is something we are going to learn, and this is something is very helpful when you are using batch export or some batch modification. Like suppose you want to you have modified something on one image and you want to repeat the same modification on another 10 images. So at that time you can use automate, and you just have to create the automate function first, and then you just have to just play that automation, and it will redo, like apply all whatever you have done that in that first image. It will reapply everything there and then save it. So you can modify it. This is like something, personally I use it a lot, because it speed up your entire process and your work process. Like suppose you have to manually say, like modify it 100 images, and you have to modify that. Suppose you have an image sequence or something, so that time manually each and every modifying each and every image will be very difficult and it will be time consuming. Because in production, when you work for a studio, in production time is very important. So time consumption, you need to focus on that, how to reduce the time consumption and increase your efficiency. That time what I'll do, I'll create one automate action, and fix one image and then apply that action to all the rest of the images, all 19 images, like within a minute. Like by default, like if I try to do it manually, maybe it will take 1 minute for one image, like 100 image, 100 minutes. But I'll use 1 minute to create that action, and then I'll apply that automation on 99 image. So it will like hardly take like 30 seconds, or maybe like depending upon the size and what you have done. So it will be like a 20% time. It will take another 20% time of the entire thing. So it will reach a really fast and efficient way to do it. The scripts, like there are lots of Photoshop scripts are there. Like usually like in gaming, especially in gaming, 99% time we won't be using this until unless like your client or whichever software, like when you're processing the image, whichever software, they have a specific setting or a specific requirement, and they have a script to process it. That time only we'll use it. So this is something like very specific to project, very specific to some like software. So this is something 99% is not required. So like this is usually used in like suppose in India, or maybe we use default color, this thing, what do you call it, color space, color profile. We basically use default color profile. So if you want to change that, you can see profiles, you have multiple color profiles here. So there are lots of monitors are there. They have a different color space. That time we might need to change it. Maybe we have a different color space for some other software. So those things we might need to change and modify and update it. So that is something like very very project specific. Unless you're asked for it, don't do it, don't modify, don't touch it. You can see the moment I touched it, I change it, the color, you can see change. If I okay it, you see it won't affect this because it's a smart object. To modify this, I have to go to the actual image and color profile, okay, profile. This will affect this layer. If I save this, go back to my actual image, now it will reflect here. So this is how you modify your smart object. And then you have print, file info, like file information, file size, file density, textile density, then your like a color profile, all those information you can get from here. Like what are the things you have used. There's no camera data because it's a render. Origin, there's nothing because it's a render. I have modified in Photoshop only. So if you suppose you have a photo, let's see, I open a photo, let's see, I guess I have a photo, HDRI map. Yes, I have a HDRI map. I'll open that and show you how it works. So I just opened this file info. So here, let's see. So you can see previously everything was empty. Now you can see there's some date, application Photoshop 21. Windows, this thing, camera data not there. Or everything is empty. I can input this thing manually. Also, there is no GPS, video data, no information. Okay, some raw information is there, but like most of the things are like not present. Like they are like when you click a photo from mobile or something, it have a geotag, it have this camera information, light information, all those information. So you can check all those things with the help of this thing. Then we have edit, where we edit everything basically. I'll switch off this. Edit. So where you can see undo, redo, Control Z for undo, Control Shift Z for redo. That is something like a standard for all the softwares. Then you have like a toggle last state. Like if suppose you want to toggle last state, show. Nice. Okay, I painted this thing. If I do Control Z, and then I Control Z one more time, it will go back to a smart object. But Control Shift Z, sorry. So if I Control Shift Z, I do. You can see Alt Control Shift Z. It will. I just read in the entire thing. No, for Photoshop there is no student license. There is no student license. For this you have to download from torrent or some cracked version. In college we have yes, you have only education discount. There is no student free version. In college we have this thing Photoshop. So that time, I guess in another 2 weeks college will open, so you can come and use it very easily. Or I guess you can ask Praveen, maybe he might be able to provide it. So I'm not sure about that. So yeah, you can use that. So I just read on this thing again, Control Z and Control Shift Z, redo. But suppose I want to see the like Control Alt Z. Huh. Control Z, Control Alt Z. Why it's not working? There is something broken. Okay, it's not working. Anyways. So you have this toggle between like what you have created and what is not modified. You can check between that. A fade is basically you change the like fade that layer, or you can just change modify this. Then you have cut, copy, merge, all these like basic things. If you want to search something, suppose there's a text or some specific name or something you want to search, you can check with this. You can check spelling. You can, like suppose you have text, like usually in design we use this. So you can check this thing. Fill is to fill that layer, whatever you have, foreground, background, you want to change something, history, what you want to do, you can modify what you want to do. You can modify whatever color is selected, it will fill that entire section. Then you have, you can see stroke. Suppose I create a this thing, selection, and stroke it with some color. I can define the pixel, outside, center, inside. I need this outline, like this. A stroke is basically outline. I need it outside this selection, center of the selection, or inside of the selection. I can click on this and scroll up and increase the pixel size. Pixel is basically thickness, like how many pixels is going to cover. 20 inside, it will see it's inside the selection. Undo. Then we have stroke, center, half inside, half outside. Exactly similar outside. It works like this. So these are the things we'll be using like for our fixing all the things and creating all the assets. And we can create our own brushes. Puppeteer is very like good tool where we can modify things the way you want. Like you suppose you have a straight line and you want to make it a spiral or curve or something. You can use puppet wrap and wrap it around the spiral. You can do it very easily and very nicely, and without distorting like most of the part. Like there will be a little bit distortion, but yeah, it still can handle it, manage it. Then free transformation, Control T, that we already did. Then transform, like what you want to do, scale, rotate, skew, distort, all these things. So we'll cover all these things one by one. But before starting, there are like few settings I want you guys to change in your Photoshop. Press Control K, press for preference, or go to edit, last option, preference, select this thing. So under this, there is an option called performance and scratch disk. So under scratch disk, make sure you have selected all you available hard disks. Whatever you have available, make sure everything is selected, because Photoshop save entire history on your disk. So it needs quite a like huge amount of space. So maybe your files after saving will be like 1 MB or 2 MB, but it stores each and every stroke, everything as a separate file. So it takes a lot of space. So make sure increase your scratch disk, select all the available disk and all the free this thing. And under performance, history by default is 20, increase it to 1000 or 500, 600 at least, so that suppose you mess up somewhere, you can always go back and fix it. So increase the history. This is something automatically Photoshop sets depending upon a system configuration. So you can if you want, you can modify this, but you can keep it like this also. That's totally completely fine. So these two things you can modify before starting working on Photoshop. And okay, then like these are the tools where you have, these are main tools we're going to use all the time. I'll get into image layer types one by one. Like there's like 5 minutes left. I'll take the attendance quickly. Just give me a minute. Okay, let's see. Present. Then we have Brijesh. Then we have Kiran Kumar. Kiran Kumar. Then we have Patricia. Yes, yeah. Then we have Rishi. And we have Rohit. Then we have Austin. Then we have Shahid. Oh, all mark present. Okay. So these are the main tools we're going to use all the time. This is basically select tool. You select anything. You can create anything, and for select basically. This is for basically for selecting. But one thing you need to notice, whenever you select a tool, any of the tool, it comes out with a few of you this extra options. Like if I switch on this, and and click on auto select. Suppose I want right now I want to select this white border. Auto select. Click on this. It will automatically highlight that frame. Click on here. It will highlight the topmost layer, like from where whatever you can see. I have added this color in this layer, so that's why if I switch it off, then click on, it will select my background. So it will automatically select the topmost layer on the wherever you clicked. So auto select you can use, you can switch it off, you can change it according to you, your convenience. And you can see you have option for layer, like suppose you want to select a layer or you want to select the entire group. Click this, so it won't auto select. Click this, it will select the entire group. So personally, I rarely use this option, like because like suppose I want to change like select something. So I usually try to name all the layers, and then if I want to select a particular layer, I right click it and it will give me this entire drop down menu, so I can select it very easily from here. So that's why I don't use it often. So I like really I guess I professionally I've rarely used it. So this is some totally up to you. Like if you feel comfortable with this, you can use it. If you don't feel comfortable, don't use it. And so transformation control, basically if you select any layer, it will always showcase this transformation option, and you can just simply select and modify things. Escape to like revert back. So this is also I don't use, but yes, this is again very specific. Suppose you want to modify things, instead of like pressing Control T, you can click on this and modify it. Control T, free transformation, the same thing. Then these are basically layer alignment. Like suppose you have 10 layers, or this is something I can show. It'd be nice. Get a new layer. Control N is for new file, and then take a new layer. This is a new layer, delete layer. This is create folder. This is your adjustment layers. This is your mask. This is your layer style, and this is layer link. So I'll showcase all those things one by one, like what is the purpose of this thing, and what are their use. So I'll show those things. So I'll create, whenever you create or click on this plus, it will create a blank empty layer. You can see this background is white, and background is white, and this whenever you create this layer, it shows you this gray and white checker map. This checker is basically, whenever you can see this checker on a layer, it means that layer is empty. There's nothing, it's empty, so there is no use. If you have empty layers in your file, it will unnecessarily increase the file size. So always clean it, delete those things. So I have this select marquee tool. With the help of this I can create shape. This is, you can see, square shape, like a squarish shape. If I click and drag, I can select. I can create a square. I can create a rectangle. I can create whatever I want. If I press shift, it will create a square always. With the help of shift, it will be a uniform shape, will be a square always. So let's create this, and let's select some black. I select color. I can click on this, and from this color picker also I can fill, or I can from here also I can select any of the color. Alt delete, fill that selection. Control D. Then sorry,